Joe Gatto, how you doing?
I'm here. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. For those of you who don't know Joe, I'm sure you do. You see him on every TV station in the TNT cluster and on your True TV and everywhere on Hulu late at night. Joe became famous in America on television for the Impractical Jokers Show, an improvisational sketch comedy show that he did with his lifelong childhood friends. First of all, Joe, how you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you so much, Shane. How are you? You
Good.
you, you look well. I love that room you're in. It's fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So you're kicking off your fall stand-up tour in Chicago on September 5th, or September 7th, I'm sorry, at the Vic in Lakeview. It's like 4 blocks down the road from where I'm sitting right now. Tickets are on sale.
I wanted to make
right
it easy
now.
for you. I wanted to make it easy for you to get there.
I appreciate that. I love the Vic. It's going to be a good venue. It's going to be a great show. So you're kicking off your fall tour in Chicago. Is that a nod to you admitting that Chicago is a better city than your hometown of New York?
I got nothing but love for Chicago. I love Chicago.
Yeah.
I spent some time in Chicago. Yeah.
What's your favorite part about Chicago?
You know what I love about Chicago is you get everything. They just put a river right in the middle of it. Like you could just, the duck boat is, it's just amazing idea. Just like, hey, take this car if there's traffic, go in the water.
Yeah. I mean, like locals don't really do it because they look at it as like a touristy thing. But every year I try to do the architecture tour on the river, or you take the water taxi from downtown to Chinatown. It's awesome.
So pretty. Yeah. I mean, I get my favorite, on Michigan Ave there, one of my favorite museums. You guys have one of my favorite museums ever. And I have a story I tell where I sat in the museum and I was looking at I Love Water Lilies by Monet, and it was there, or it was like touring through, and this is like 10 or 15 years ago, where I was sitting there and contemplating life, and I sat there for like 2 hours looking at the water lilies, and soon after that I decided to really chase comedy. So I attribute Chicago to me
really
making my comedic journey. Yeah. It's I love that.
Awesome.
It's
I love that
time. Yeah.
So you did Impractical Jokers with your lifelong friends, Sal, Quinn, Murr. There was a time where you guys were living together, working together, doing everything together. I've done that in college, but not like with friends that are directly responsible for my livelihood. How did you handle that?
Well, me and Murr lived together. We didn't live in like a sketch house. But it was me and Murr. We were roommates in downtown Manhattan. And it was crazy because I had seen Murr more than anyone in my life for a good 3 years, like literally. Yeah, we'd wake up, go to work together, be on set together, come home, work on the show together, like at home, like we'd be thinking about the next bits of the next day, like doing our own. Because in the beginning, it was just the team was so small, we were producing everything ourselves. I was on Photoshop, like making the pictures that we're going to use to embarrass Q the next day, like and stuff like that. So it was crazy and an unbelievable ride, like to work with your best friends for that long. And be able to make such a comedic, make such a comedic legacy and be so proud of it is just unbelievable.
Speaking of photoshopping pictures to embarrass Murr, for those not familiar, the structure of the show is whoever loses the most sketches has to do a punishment at the end, right? What is your least favorite punishment on that show? Because I'll tell you, I think you handle everything eons better than everyone else on that show.
For sure. I have shame is built into me. I have a shameless gene. I talk about this in my live show too, my stand-up show, because it's such a big part of my life. So when I talk about my stand-up, my stand-up show is really storytelling, and I tell stories about my time on the show and with the boys, and I do touch on some of the worst things in my life. Honestly, the worst thing ever was when I had to steal the signed baseballs from children at Met Stadium and tell them to buy them on eBay. Yeah, that was bad. You'd think the worst part of that would be the fanny pack, but it was getting yelled at by those mothers.
Are you a Mets fan or a Yankees fan? Was that easier or harder?
I'm a New York fan. I'm a hometown guy. So I don't really follow sports. I was just a bowler in high school. That was really where my athletic prowess peaked. But I did I do enjoy a live event. I do enjoy a live game. So, going to either, the stadiums or whatnot, or live football games and stuff. I do like live sporting event.
So your show, I haven't seen you yet. I know you did a spring and you're in the middle of your summer portion. So normally you associate, you go to a stand-up show with a date or something like that, and it's two people, or maybe it's a group of four, a double date kind of situation. One of my favorite things that I've seen you do in a couple social clips is you'll find a third wheel, you'll bring them up on the stage, and then you'll find another willing single person to join that person to sit at a table right smack dab in the front of the stage. Has that gone wrong yet? Because I can't wait to see it if you're going to do it at the Vic in September.
No, I'm a hell of a wingman. I've always have been. At that theater you're speaking of, there was this huge orchestra pit that they didn't sell, so there was this big gap in the middle of the theater between me and the front row, like 20 feet or so. And I was like, this is weird. And I was like, so I just decided to embrace it. So we got into town, and I was like, it'd be funny because I always find out who's in my crowd. When I was like, it'd be funny if I set people up here on a date, like if we put a table here and I make two people have a date here. So it just. With anything in my life, a little inkling just turned into a wildfire thing where I was like, why don't we do this? And before I knew it, I had hired a local violinist who had played there the weekend before because they have a local concerto that plays there. So we reached out to her to come with her violin. We called up the local tuck shop, and I got my boy, one of my guys that works with me, to get a tuxedo, fitted for a tuxedo. They donated the tuxedo in exchange for 4 tickets. So they came and they gave me a violin, awesome. And like it just all came together into this really fun way to actually make them go. And I think the two of them actually exchanged information. And I like to think they're engaged at this point. Yeah, I like to think
they probably engaged. What's the when you're growing up in New York, and I know you spent some time in LA too, right?
Yep.
What's the worst date that you had been on?
Oh man, I went
you got a bad date story?
I ended up in an Indian restaurant once, which didn't pan out well for me. I was just like, I didn't know. Like, she told me the name of the restaurant that she really liked. It just started off bad. When I showed up to literally, she said, when I opened the door, she goes, "You're wearing that?" And I just had the jeans and a button up on. Like, I was like, "What?" And then she goes, "Let me change. I look better than you." And that's how my date started.
Get the hell out of here! Is this the first time you're meeting this woman?
It was we had met at a movie in the park thing. Me and Murray used to go to these movies in the park, and we used to just bring a blanket and invite everybody, whoever came around. So they were near us. They joined the party, and I asked her if she wanted to go grab dinner. So we went. I picked her up. We went to dinner, and then she just proceeded to tell me at dinner how she thought fat people were disgusting and started trying to be funny about, like, she's like, if I'm sitting on a plane and they spill over my seat. She was telling me a story about how a bigger man was spilling over to her under her seat in her words. And I said to her, do you know what the word's first impression to her? and she went like, I couldn't believe it. And she's like, what? She's like, I'm just being honest. I'm honest. No, I said, no, you're not being honest. You're being mean. And then the guy came over. At that point, I swear it was like a scripted movie. He comes over and he's like, would you guys like dessert? And she went, you would like to see dessert menu? She said, sure. And I went, no, thanks. We're done. And it's a bad date if I'm turning down dessert. If I'm turning down dessert, it's a bad date.
Right. You're a big sweets guy. Real big dessert guy.
I love my sweets. I have all my.
You like to bake at home,
grew
right?
up Italian with everything. Yeah, all my dogs are named after Italian treats. So
I wanted to get both into the sweets and to the dogs. We'll start the sweets first. In Italian food, what is the worst insult to Italian food that America has constructed?
I mean, it's hard pressed to get up something harder than pineapple on pizza. I mean,
okay, yeah.
I think that's a smack right into the Italian face.
Yeah. Oh man,
trying to get tropical on that ass. I mean, no, that's not.
No. Like I'm thinking like bacon and carbonara, or like cream and cacio e pepe.
Yeah, a cream and cacio is okay, because that could come from like a little bit of like a take on an Italian grandmother's take on the mainland, but like no grandmama. Sure. No nonna is throwing around pineapples over in Sicily. That just ain't happening.
So you said you named all your dogs off of sweets. Joe, I think you have too many. I think you might have too many dogs. At one point you had like 15 or 16 dogs, right?
Yeah. We actually last year we were able to launch our nonprofit sanctuary, Gatto Pups and Friends. So I was really excited about that. It's actually had time to focus on other things, and it's always been a passion of mine. So we decided to do it and set up a real nonprofit. So we run a rescue out of Long Island here, which is wonderful. Great, and it's mostly senior dogs, or ones that need a home at a last minute save from a shelter. So it's been going great. We've gone through, I think we just hit 20 adoptions, which is fantastic for us. We've got, and we keep a lot of them because, our home is loving and our kids love dogs. Yeah. And Some of them are just not adoptable. They're just too senior. But there are a bunch that come through there, and I have Cappuccino going out tomorrow. One of our dogs is going out tomorrow. So yeah, it's really exciting.
I think you're bringing good dog vibes. I've got a couple running around here, and one of them sitting right behind me. And every time I do one of these, the smallest little thing just sets her off like crazy. She's an Aussie Shepherd Border Collie. She's super protective, but she hasn't said a word since you've been here. So
she knows.
So
she knows the dog father's on the line.
She knows.
My two just leave. I have Spumoni and Biscotti with me. They're just both on the couch sleeping right now.
Biscotti. Oh my God, that's perfect. Your podcast, Two Cool Moms, where you give motherly advice, and you're neither a mother and neither is your co-host Steve.
Yeah, Steve Byrne and I both had mothers who had great motherly advice, not only to us but to our friends, and we had connected about that. And Steve and I wanted to do a podcast for a while, and then when I had some more time, we decided to start it up. And we like to think that we inherited that good motherly advice gene. So we basically spend the first half of the pod talking about anything as comedians, growing up, or about our, we're both fathers, about, some funny stuff that happened with our kids or whatever. And then the second half, we get into it. We take fan submitted dilemmas and try to help people to the best of our abilities. And sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't, but it's always fun.
What's do you like doing podcasts and stuff? Like, forget that you're on one right now. You can be completely honest. I know a lot of stand-ups talk openly about like hating doing morning radio to try to promote shows.
I don't. I don't. You know what? It's hard because it all depends on the person. Like, honestly, that you're talking to. Like, Shane, you obviously know me and stuff, but like, I'll get this question. I'll be like, so how would people know you? Like, I'm in this industry for 15 years. It's like, when you have to do that, it's like, you just feel like you've talked about it so much. And if people are watching this, they probably do know you and already. And I like to talk about the more interesting stuff, and you've done a good job with that. So I just think it's always it's a conversation, and you've been in bad conversations. You've been in good conversations. I don't care on the format. I love morning radio. I love radio stations. I grew up listening to radio here in New York. Z100 was a huge part of my life and family. I always thought I was going to end up on radio, to be honest. I just really liked it. And, I like the whole vibe of it, and putting people in a good mood for their day and things like that. So I don't mind it. But if you just have like a bad conversation, it's the same anywhere, I think,
Yeah, I can't imagine like agreeing to, like, on my end, on the radio end of the podcast end, agreeing to do one of these if you don't have passion for the person that you're talking to. Like, Joe, you've put me to bed and kept me awake every night for like the last 8-9 years. I know
tucking you in has been quite a commute to tuck you in. I really should just move to Chicago.
But you're good at it. You make good tea.
I get the burrito sides. I get the sides. You got to make sure
you tuck me in real well. What's your favorite place to see stand up in Chicago? You said you've got a lot of love for Chicago. What's a good spot to play?
I can't believe I'm playing the Vic. I love that. I mean, we've played the Vic before, but I haven't done it solo, and I'm just super excited to go there. It's just the vibe of the Chicago people too. I mean, Chicago's another city that knows comedy. It just does. Yeah. Chicago, Boston, New York. They're just cities that people appreciate comedy. So those kind of cities are really fun for me. So I think that's really why I'm most excited about it. And to have I lived out there for a little while, I've been out there a bunch. I just love the city. So when I'm excited to go to a city, that's really, really fun too.
What neighborhood did you live in when you're out here? What were some of your favorite spots?
I worked for the company Accenture, and I lived in St. Charles, which was pretty far out.
Really?
From not in the Chicago, the adjacent area. So I lived. Yeah. So I lived out there, and then when I got put on a job, one of my consulting gigs for like a month, and I lived in. It wasn't too far. It was like right outside. The client was. We tried to stay in downtown Chicago, and I forgot where the client was. It was a city there, but I'm talking like 12, 13 years at this point. More than that, actually, like 20 years at this point. It was in my early 20s. So, but every time I come, I try to spend a couple days there, too, because I just love it. So.
Who are some of your favorite comics going right now?
Comedy's really, really ripe right now, man. I think out of the pandemic, we've born some fun comedians. I just like that people are able to do it on their own. Like, I love that, because I'm self-made too. Like, we started on, MySpace, literally YouTube. Yeah. Like, that's how we got our bones. We were out there, fan supported and stuff like that. So to see all these kids come up that way, Trevor Wallace, Matt Rife, like just to see like the love that they're getting just from doing their stuff and putting their stuff out there on their own. I just think it's really cool. But you got some really, great Nate Bargatze. I love. I think he's great. Sebastian's unbelievable. I'm not a comedy like hater either. Like if people find people funny, if people are able to make a living being a comedian, God bless them. That's great. It doesn't mean that I don't have to think you're funny, but I would never be like, I don't get it. I don't think they're funny. I don't have to get it. Just like some people don't think I'm funny. Those people are idiots. But besides that, I think, some people, if you're out there and people are willing to pay to hear you speak and make them laugh, I think it's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's taking back like the ownership of your content, right? Like Shane Gillis puts that special out on YouTube, does millions of views just on the back end of COVID. Locally here, Pat Tomasulo, who works with Pat. He's great, right? Puts his own special out on YouTube, does millions. It's awesome. It's good to see people taking ownership of their own content. So September 7th at the Vic, tickets are on sale now. I will definitely be out there, and if you've got some time, we'd love to give you a radio shift on one of our music stations.
There you go. I'll do some. Yeah. I'll spin some. I'll spin some music radio.
Yeah, perfect. Joe, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you. This was great.
All right, talk to you later.
All right, bye.